What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. I'd like to begin this video by giving a huge shout out to TCG Player for the opportunity to be a part of their affiliate program. If you want to help a content creator out, all you have to do is click on the TCG Player link down below, and it won't cost you anything either. It's been a while since we covered this deck on the channel, but with the release of Voiceless Voice and the small resurgence in Branded as a natural counter, I felt it was only right to feature its practically invisible counterpart. I think it's really cool when decks from the same lore have cohesive strategies, though admittedly, it feels like Doggy needs another good extender, possibly tying it to Branded so that it works with Albion the Fusion Dragon to push it to the next level. This first combo is one that I featured on the channel, but important for players learning the deck, Nadir Servant gives us access to a lot of cool things that this deck can do, and we're going to start by activating it, which will give us the ability to send a monster from our extra deck to the graveyard. Then we can add a Dogmatika as long as the attack is equal to or lower of the monster that we send to the graveyard from the extra deck, and in this case, we're going to get the White Knight just because it's the only disruption ritual monster that we do have. Now, technically, you can search yourself Ecclesia, send yourself one of your fusions or even Lulu Wallace, and approach the play that way, but I just wanted to show that you can get into your White Knight of the Dogmatika, as it is a cool way to get into your ritual spells and only requires one card. So we're going to use the Dogmatika Calamity, which will use the Titaniclad as a ritual. Keep in mind that it needs to be the exact level that you send for the ritual summon, as we're then going to be able to go on to the end phase, use the effect of Titaniclad, and from here we'll get the Ecclesia, which will be able to get us into another interruption via the Fleur-de-Lis. Now, for this second combo, you've probably seen this combo before in another specific deck, and we're going to start this one by normal summoning the Quem. We'll then be able to use the effect of Quem, which will send the Cartesia, activate the Branded Fusion, and now we can send ourselves the Ecclesia along with the Albaz in order to go into our Sanctifier. From here, we'll then be able to use the effect of Quem, which will trigger because we summoned out the Sanctifier, bring back the Cartesia, use the effect of Cartesia, which will go into the Grand Ganol, use the Grand Ganol, which will send the Gimmick Puppet, and now we can go onto our opponents to the effect of Sanctifier, bringing us back the Puppet along with the Ecclesia, and the Ecclesia will be able to get ourselves a search for the Fleur, which I thought was also really cool, as this isn't really something you're doing in Branded Despia. But with that, I'll take you on to the next combo. Now, for this next one, we have Dogmatika Matrix along with the Nadir Servant, and this combo would be better if going second, because if you do go second and your opponent controls a monster, then you would get 2 searches off of it, so that's really cool. As we're going to start here by activating the Dogmatika Matrix, get ourselves the Albazoa, activate the Nadir Servant, as we'll then be able to send the Titaniclad, add ourselves the Ecclesia. From here, then normal summon the Ecclesia, get yourself the Dogmatika Calamity. Do keep in mind, you really can go for any ritual that you need at this point. I'm just showing some of the different plays that you can do here, but we're going to activate the Dogmatika Calamity, send the Lulu Wallace in order to get our Alba. Now we can use the effect of the Dogmatika Matrix, which will be able to send ourselves the Garura for an extra draw, and the reason that I'm drawing Baylor in this one in specific is because I want to show that it's a spellcaster, 0 attack, 0 defense, so it has the same attack and defense points, meaning that if you summon it off of Lulu Wallace, potentially on your opponent's turn, going onto your own turn, there's potential synchro plays that you can do that I thought was worth mentioning if you do want to explore that. But we're then going to be able to use the Lulu Wallace here in order to get ourselves the Quem. Quem can then use its effect on board, sending the Cartesia. We'll use the effect of the Titaniclad in order to get ourselves the Fleur, and from here we can pass on to our opponent. Do keep in mind that you also get the Albazoa effect in order to send cards from your opponent's hand or extra deck to the graveyard, which can be really vital against some strategies. Now, for the last combo before the test hand, we're going to start here with the Branded Fusion, as we're going to then send ourselves the Gimmick Puppet along with the Albaz, use the effect of Lubellion, which will pitch the card, and then we'll go into the Mirror Jade, as we'll then be able to activate our Nadir Servant, get ourselves the White Knight of Dogmatika, and you'll see how this is able to get us into the Mirror Jade along with the Ritual play, as well as getting the access to Ecclesia during the end phase. So that's just really cool there. It's also important to note that while you have White Knight, you can't special summon from the extra deck, so there are some restrictions that you have to pay attention to when playing this deck, but we're going to use the effect of the Ecclesia, getting ourselves the Fleur, and from here we can pass on to our opponent. Now, with all of the combos out of the way, we can get onto the test hand, and one combo that I kind of didn't want to show just because I'm only doing going first hand and Dogmatika Matrix is much better going second, is that if you have the access to Ecclesia plus the Dogmatika tricks, then you have the ability to get into a ritual monster plus ritual spell that way. In this case, we already have the Dogmatika Calamity, so we're a step ahead here, and we're going to send ourselves the Lulu Wallace in order to bring ourselves the Alba. Obviously, activate the Alba, as we're going to activate the Dogmatika tricks, get ourselves the White Knight, and now because we do have the Gimmick Puppet good in hand. Something else that's cool is we can unbrick ourselves this way, as we can use the Herald in order to get ourselves the Dogmatika Cabre, I think it's called, so that we can activate it, tribute off the Gimmick Puppet, special summon out or ritual summon out the White Knight, set the Dogmatika punishment, go to the end phase where we can get ourselves the Lulu Wallace effect to bring out the Quem. You can also bring out something like Iris Sword Soul or whatever else you want to bring out. So with all of the combos out of the way, we can get onto the deck profile. The really cool thing that this deck has going for it is these 12 cards here are all very powerful, but unfortunately, as stated, it feels like we are one good card away from being able to play the deck with a higher ceiling, because without that extra card, it just feels like we're playing so many generic cards, and then you have your 3 ritual monsters, your 2 ritual spells along with the Dogmatika Central. There's also the Gimmick Puppet brick. This is why my previous builds kind of had the Libromancer along with the Fenrir stuff going on, just because it gave you that extra engine in order to not only get yourself an Omni Negate, but just not have half of your deck being borderline unplayable if you draw them together. Then something else you'll see that you can play here is the Psyframe Omega if you want to be able to get resources back, but I just don't think that you need it, especially in this build where you can get stuff back with Lubellion if it comes down to that. As stated, the Effect Veiler is something that you can special summon out the Despian Lulu Wallace, so if you want to experiment with that, that is also something you can do, but with that, I don't have much else to say. The deck is very straightforward in what it wants to do. It's just about a combination of cards you have in your opening hand in order to decide which ritual you're really going to go for and whether you're going to make the Gimmick Puppet lock or not. So with that, I'll get onto the card by card, and we have the 1 Fleur, the 1 Punishment, the 1 Called By, the 1 Gimmick. We then have the 3 Branded Fusion, the 3 Dogmatika Tricks, the 3 Nadir Servant, the 3 Ecclesia, the 1 Albaz, the 1 Cartesia, the 1 Quem, and these aren't terrible to draw. I think that the worst one to draw might be the Cartesia, just because you don't want to lock yourself into going into Grand Ganol. If you do happen to have to use Ecclesia's effect on your own turn, it just means that you'll have to wait another turn to get that fusion summon. You're also not able to special summon it just as freely, as you kind of do rely on seeing the Branded Fusion to get the Albaz to the graveyard and so on. Then we have the 1 Ecclesia Ritual, we then have the White Knight, the Albazoa, we then have the 1 Dogmatika Calamity, the 1 Cabre, the 1 Branded Central. We then have the 1 Talent, the 2 Thrust. Thrust, again, is just a great card in this deck. I mentioned earlier, are kind of low on a total of good engine count cards, and having the Thrust in order to get you into your Branded Fusion or your Nadir Servant when you're ideally going second with this deck anyways is pretty nice. But then we have the 3 Imperm, the 3 Veiler, the 3 Ash, and the 3 Nib to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have the 2 Lulu Wallace, Herald of the Arclight, the 2 Entis. Everything that's at 2 is the most important in this extra deck in my opinion, because it's what you're sending with the Dogmatika Tricks, along with your Dogmatika White Knight. But then we have the 1 Garura, we then have the 2 Titaniclads, the 1 Mirror Jade. The Dragos Depelia can technically be a second Mirror Jade if you would like to approach it that way, as we don't play Super Poly. You have the 1 Albion, the 1 Lubellion, the 1 Sanctifier, and the 1 Grand Ganol to round out the deck profile. So for everyone who's made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching, and for the 700 plus subscribers. I truly appreciate your support, and now that we've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. To get the channel membership, just click on the description below, and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. For those wondering, I do plan on making updates to the channel as the support on the channel grows. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones, signing out.